Alright, hey guys, welcome to another episode of Learn with Anirudh. Thank you all so much for your support, and you've been asking for this video for a really long time now, so here you go. We're going to be discussing a lot of data science here. And ladies and gentlemen, if you guys are beginners who are looking to get started into the domain of data science, you realize that it can get really complex and it can get really confusing. And of course, the entire goal of Learn with Anirudh is to make sure we simplify all of these complex concepts down so that everyone can understand what data science is all about, right? Fantastic. Now let's get started with a quick did you know. Well, according to Harvard Business Review, they say that a data scientist's role is considered to be the sexiest job in the 21st century. How amazing is this? How amazing is the perk that you get with your designation, with your role, to apparently call it the sexiest job in the 21st century? It's fantastic. But the best part here is that there is so much of complexity in the domain that not everyone really knows what a data scientist exactly does. Whenever I've had the chance to address a gathering or go to a seminar or something like that, there I have always asked students, I wanted to ask their opinion to see what they think of a data scientist, and I always get the answers in a way where it's not always complete, and I realize that there is a very good chance that there are a lot of people out here who might not know exactly what a data scientist does. So make sure you guys are subscribed to the channel and make sure you guys stay tuned, because in the further videos that I have planned for you guys, we definitely will be considering what a data scientist does. I'm going to be giving you all the nitty-gritty details, the complete details that involves the responsibilities of a data scientist. That's going to be an amazing video. Make sure you guys are stay tuned for that. Fantastic. Now with that, I definitely want to take a second to give you all thanks, because you guys are subscribing, you guys are showing me a ton of support, reaching out to me with a lot of feedback. I want you guys to understand that your subscription and your support helps me reach out to a lot of learners who are in definitely need of good content. So your subscription not only means a lot to me as a person who's running this channel, but of course to all the learners whom you guys are learning alongside. So do take a second to hit that subscribe button if you're loving everything that you're seeing here. Now with that, I think it's high time we get started. Let's go. Alright, fantastic guys. Now let's get started with the section where I want to talk to you guys about why we require data science even before we discuss the core concept, which is what is data science. Now let's look at why we require data science. First of all, I know that a lot of you all who are watching this particular episode, you guys are definitely interested in having data science as your career path. So you guys definitely want to start learning it very seriously and make sure that you can start earning from the domain as well. So it's actually a very good thing, because here a data scientist's role is one among the highest paid salaries that's ever provided in the entire world of modern computing. We're not saying it's the highest salary in IT, we're not saying it's the highest salary in some other small domain, we're saying that it provides the highest salaries in the entire world of modern computing. And now with COVID, even though there's a lot of bad things that have happened, one good thing is that there are a lot of companies around the world who are willing to accept international candidates. Now that is amazing. You can apply to a lot of companies that's out there, which there's a very good chance that you couldn't do previously. Now it's not always about salary. Before you get to the salary part, I'm sure you guys will be curious about the learning part. Take a look at your screen. It's very easy to think that this might be the curve for your data science journey. This might be the learning curve where you have your expertise, where you start out really slow, you start learning a couple of concepts, then something gets really difficult, so your expertise and your interest with the domain can definitely go low, and then it starts going up slowly after a really long time. This is not true, because this is the graph in my opinion that you should look at. This is the beautiful reality that surrounds the world of data science, wherein you start really slow, and as you start ramping up, as you start putting in a bit of time and a good amount of effort, you can see you will climb really higher, because all of these concepts, if your fundamentals are very strong, just like the same concept of how you would construct a building, if your scaffolding and if your foundation is really strong, you wouldn't have to worry about it later. You can just keep building one floor after another floor. Similarly here as well, if you have your fundamentals really strong, down the line, I promise you, and you guys will see on the channel itself, that you can really tackle the most complex problems that's out there. And the entirety of when people believe that data science is complex is not at all true, and I'm here to prove the same to all of you all. So Let's talk about data a little for a second. 100,000 years. Definitely that feels like a really long time, correct? It's such a big number that, we'll have to take for a second. We'll have to go to Google to see what all was happening in the world 100,000 years ago. But here's the best part about what we're doing today. All the data that we have generated in the entirety of the last 100,000 years, we have generated 10 times that exact amount of data in just the last 2 years. 2020 was about to start, and now where we are, if you take a look at it, we most of us don't realize that such a long time has quickly passed. 2021 is about to come to an end, right? It's almost November right now. It's December before you know it, and boom, it's the new year after that. So in just the span of last 2 years, we've had a chance to generate 10 times the data and process it. It's not just generate and keep it. We have had the chance to process it and have such an impact as well. Even bigger thing that you really should know at this moment of time is that the entire world right now, in the world of information technology, all the data on the entire globe today accounts to somewhere around 50 trillion gigabytes. 50 trillion gigabytes. Now, of course, it seems very hilarious to think that, hey, we will never generate that amount of data, because let's be honest here. Your laptop, my laptop, all of us here are just trying to delete some old movies, old songs to make sure that we do not fill up just a 1 terabyte hard disk that we might have. But the entire world out there is trying to chase 50 trillion gigabytes of data. Now we need some processing power, we need some capabilities to handle all of that. And you might have heard of this term, data is the new oil. We know the value of oil in today's world, and you should know the value of data as well, because it definitely one-ups the worth of oil today. And over the last 5-6 years, people have definitely realized that with data, you can do a ton of things that you couldn't do previously. Now, more importantly, we're talking about a large amount of data because of the fact that in the cases of machine learning and in the case of artificial intelligence, this requires a lot of data to learn. As you might already know, if you watch my previous videos on machine learning that I just posted for you all, you realize that to train a machine, you're going to require a very large amount of data. A high quality and a high quantity of data is required for machine learning. And of course, if you're thinking about deep learning and if you're thinking about AI, it just goes on and on. So it's not that we're just generating a ton of data for no purpose. We can use it to perform in-depth analysis that, you might have thought that this was never possible with the amount of data that we have, but you will be surprised to know that you can find out everything there is to find out if you just have a good amount of data. But in today's world, if you're a person like me, you must be asking a question saying, we have Microsoft Excel, we have all the business intelligence tools, we have Power BI, we have Tableau, everything is there. Why do we even require a domain such as data science to go about learning? Well, as you can see from your screen, handling structured data is very, very easy in today's world. It really does not take a lot of effort. But we generate unstructured data in today's world. Majority of the videos, the photos, whatever you take a look at, the data that we generate is not really in an Excel sheet. It's not really structured. It's not in a tabular form, or it's not in a way that your computer can understand easily. That is the entire problem. All those big numbers that we saw, most of it is unstructured data, and we require a domain such as data science to tackle all of that data to give us beautiful insights from the same. Now that we understand why it is really, really important and critical for the world to understand data science, you will have a question saying, okay, so what is data science then? It's pretty simple. Whenever you might have taken a look at the definition of what data science is, it always feels open-ended, right? It never feels complete. But the most simple definition of data science is nothing but a study. It is a structured way of how you can handle and process data over its entire life cycle. Now, I'm sure you guys agree with me on this point, right? Data can be created, data can be used, and later when we don't require data, we delete it. So there's an entire life cycle that's happening with the data. To give you a little bit more clarity about the data life cycle, take a look at your screen. At first, we create some sort of data that we maybe click pictures, we record audio, we create a lot of details, we put it up on a website. So data is being created. And after data creation, what we do is 90% of the time, we might not be able to use the data as it is. If you go to a website right now, do you see the website or do you see the HTML code? You see the website, correct? So we have to transform the data to a part where people can understand this, where your computers can of course understand it. And what do we do after transforming the data? We tend to store it because we will want to use it later on. We want to make modifications down the line. So it's an entire process. You can see the arrow that's been drawn, right? This is a cycle that keeps happening. You create something, you transform it, you store it, you go back to creation, you keep updating it. But in the case of data science, it's very important for you to understand the step where data transformation happens. In the case of data transformation, we use the concepts of applied mathematics, applied statistics, be it data visualization or be it data engineering as well. Data engineering talks a lot about how you bring in the data from multiple sources to store it, to analyze it, and to give it to data analysts and data scientists to actually transform the data and work with it. Statistics and mathematics, ladies and gentlemen, have a really big role in the world of data science, as you can probably tell. It definitely is very important, and for all of you all who might be thinking, saying, hey, I am not very good at mathematics, I'm not very good at statistics, do not worry. I'm going to be bringing you the most fun and interesting ways through which you guys can definitely become experts in applying these mathematical concepts, in applying these statistical concepts as well. So this is data transformation and the data life cycle. But how are we trying to bring in the entire world of data into the world of data science? Well, here you go. In the world of data science, the life cycle is very simple. We go from data ingestion to maintaining the data to processing the same amount of data. We analyze the data later on, and at the end we have something called reporting. Now, to just give you the definition of what all of these means definitely will not give you a clarity about what the complete picture is. So let's break it down step by step and let's take it really slowly to make sure that you guys understand the process of data science. Step number one is data ingestion. In the case of data ingestion, the word ingest basically means to bring it towards you. This step involves a lot about acquiring the data and gathering the data so that we can use it for analysis later on. Now let's just say that you are a company who's trying to sell a couple of products. Where does your data come from? You might generate a lot of data by clicking pictures of your products to sell it online. You might be also using the data from your competitors to understand what they do. If you've ever observed very closely with the sales that happens with respect to Flipkart or Amazon or any other site, they tend to match these prices almost all the time. That's because of the fact that they are doing competitive analysis. So they have to also pick up data from not just their own company, but from their competitor company as well. And if you're a person who's doing a lot of text mining and analysis and all of that, you are going to be picking up a lot of sentimental data through which you're going to assess the sentiments of your people. If you're selling the product, you want to understand the reviews of the product and you want to see what people are talking about your product. So there are 100 different ways through which you can bring in data to your organization. And step number one in the world of data science is to understand what is the structured way through which you can simplify this process of bringing in the data to store it for your usage and down the line as well. Now, the next thing is data maintenance. It's not always the stage where, you just bring in the data, you store it and boom, you give it to a data analyst and he or she will happily sit and use it. Not really. What happens down the line, you must realize at this moment that you're going to be using machine learning, you're going to be using maybe AI as well. In that case, if you are providing incorrect data to your machine learning algorithms, it will learn it in an incorrect way, and at the end, it will not be worth your time or effort because you know that something might be right or wrong. Your computer doesn't. So in this step, it is very important for us to pre-process the data. By pre-processing, what I mean is that you will have to clean your data to a certain extent where there are no errors in the data. It is correct, it is accurate, and your machine learning algorithm or whatever it is, be it even simple data analysis, right? There you have the complete authority to make sure that you say, hey, I know my data is correct, so you don't have to worry about that anymore. Data is like a raw entity. Just think of your favorite food item to eat. There are many food items that you can eat raw. You can just probably pick it off the shelf and you can eat it, just like fruits, vegetables, something like that. But majority of the time it involves a bit of cooking. So you have to do some sort of transformation there, add a bit of masala there to make it better. Here as well, you're going to have to clean your vegetables, clean your data, process it, and only then you can take it to the next step where you do a lot of concepts such as data modeling, clustering, and data mining. Now, data modeling and clustering basically talks about how you can, keep all these data ready for the pipeline to be processed. Clustering is again unsupervised learning. If you guys followed through in my last types of machine learning video, again, the link is in the description box if you haven't taken a look at that, so make sure you do. So in clustering and in data mining, we find out ways through which we can take in unstructured data and add structure to it. We take in a lot of mixed amount of data, we separate it out, we segregate it out so that it can be used later. If you're seeing in all of these three steps that we just discussed, ingestion, maintenance, and processing, we are just talking about how much of refinement you can do to the data. Of course, in the processing step and the analysis step is where the heart of the logic is, but data preparation, ladies and gentlemen, takes up the most amount of time. And this will be, if you can talk to any data scientist right now, ask them how important it is to make sure your data is clean and to make sure your data is pre-processed. Because if you miss these three steps and if there is a slight slack and you say, hey, it's okay, I don't want to clean the data so much, and if you just process it ahead, everything down the line until step number 3 is fine. From step number 3 to step number 6, everything will just fall like Lego bricks if you haven't done these right. So this is really a critical part of data science that you have to understand. Because once the headache is done, the part where your data is clean, everything is set for usage, the analysis part will come very simple to you. You can go about doing something called EDA. It's called exploratory data analysis. We have something called predictive analysis as well, predictive analytics as it's also called. In predictive analysis, we use the current data and we use the data from the past to predict what happens in the future. Very simple, I'll give you an example. Think about weather prediction. Open your phone right now and say, hey Google, hey Siri, what is the weather like tomorrow morning? See, it is using the data it has right now and it has used the past data and it is predicting what the data might be tomorrow. Now, not a lot of domains have the capability to say that they can predict something that happens in the future. And I think data science is really beautiful in that way, where it can sit and predict what happens next. And as all of us are always excited, be it in any domain out there, we definitely want to see a lot of prediction that's happening. And everything, all the self-driving cars that you have today, it is trying to predict what the next person around that might do. And it will adjust itself based on that. And then there's text mining. Text mining is pretty simple. It is basically a way through which you can analyze what's happening in the text and you can get your machine learning algorithm or you can get your computer to figure out all the important stuff. As I just gave you the example previously, if you're a person who's trying to sell a product and you want to understand the reviews that your customers are giving, let's just say that your product became a super hit, it is trending right now and you have, let's say, 3,000 reviews. Instead of you sitting and reading those 3,000 reviews and taking all your time, you can have your machine actually understand those reviews and you can find out the sentiment of the people. You can find out if the people are happy with your product, if your people are sad about your product, angry about your product, or if they are just neutral about it. They're not speaking good things, they're not speaking bad things about it. That part is the one that's the most confusing, right? If you think about it, if there is a 5-star rating that people have to give, if they give you 3-star rating, at least for me personally, it is slightly confusing to understand, hey, is it good, is it bad? 3 stars isn't giving you a lot of clarity. So in those situations, just with the amount of reviews that you can have, you can completely mine it and figure out what's going on, what your customers are talking about. And of course, you can use the feedback to have a better product. That's the reason I keep asking you guys feedback as well, so that, I can bring you even better content. And I hope all of you all are actually enjoying everything that you're seeing. If you are, take a second to hit that like button. I appreciate all the support. Now, after analysis comes the next step, which is reporting. Ladies and gentlemen, you might have heard from a lot of sources that analysis is the most important part in data science. But let me tell you that reporting, in my opinion, is really the most important step. Data science is a very complex domain. You know it, I know it, of course. And it's pretty simple when you start learning it and you start figuring it out. But what happens even when you become an expert in data science is that people around you will not be experts. So you need a way to summarize everything that you have done. You need a way to break very complex stuff down into really simple stuff, to maybe explain it to your managers, to maybe explain it to your board of directors, to your client, because you are a data scientist. They are not. So whatever hard work that you have done, whatever is the amazing application that you have built, if you cannot explain it to someone, or if you cannot convey what is exactly being done, people will not be interested to hear that. So you need to be very good at storytelling. You need to be very good at taking a complex data sheet. Let's just say that there is an Excel sheet filled with hundreds and hundreds of rows and columns. To explain that, you're going to need a lot of time and it's going to get boring. But what if you could create maybe 5 or 6 beautiful looking graphs and charts and plots, and you can explain the entire thing using those graphs? Don't you think people will be interested and fascinated that way, and they can understand it better? Well, of course, it's really the most important step in the world of data science. But it doesn't end here. If we are talking about the concepts of machine learning, if you're trying to build an application that's based on machine learning, or you're moving towards software engineering, even in software engineering, we require a lot of data science. Now, in that case, it's not just you report, you tell stories, and you're done with it. No. If you have a machine learning model that is working, you have to also think about how you will deploy the model, as in how you will get the model to work for your client, how you will get the model to work for your company. And later, there is one more step which involves you monitoring these models. Down the line, maybe there can be better upgrades that can be put into the model, better algorithms can be used. You can use something called transfer learning. There are many concepts through which you can refine it constantly and make it better. It's just like the software updates that you keep getting for Windows, or maybe whatever it's for your graphic card driver or whatever it is, right? Similarly here as well, you can have a chance to continuously monitor it, see if everything is working fine when it works on new data, upgrade it, make sure it's working fine. So this is also a step which is very critical if you are considering the mainstream world of data science, especially for machine learning and artificial intelligence. Now that we know what data science is, let's quickly take a look at some of the top tools that are used for data science. Now, I understand that some of you all are definitely curious to really get your hands dirty, get started right away, and you're curious to figure out what the tools are. Now, as per Kaggle is a fantastic site. I'm going to make another video on Kaggle explaining to you guys what exactly it is. But it is a critical component in a data analyst, a data scientist, and a data engineer's life. It's a beautiful website where you get to meet an amazing bunch of people who are super creative. You get a lot of data sets on this website. You get to do a ton of things. Now, these guys are experts in what they do. So as per a survey that they did, the top tools that are used in the world of data science by developers around the world, number one, it's Python. Of course, it has to be Python, because if it involves programming and data science, 80% or 90% of the time, it's Python that's always there. And now, data science is not just writing Python code. If you're talking about the data engineering aspect of things, it also involves you working with the data in a database. So there you're going to require technologies such as SQL, languages such as, you have to work with NoSQL and all of those concepts. So there you need to get your hands dirty with writing some SQL queries and all of that. Now, after that, there's something called R language. How many of you have heard of R language? Head to the comment section and let me know, because R programming language is an amazing programming language if you are focusing 100% on data analysis. If you want to do data analysis and nothing else, R language is really good. In some cases, it is better than Python, but if you take a look at the overall picture, it's like Python. There is nothing that can beat Python in my opinion. And then we have TensorFlow. TensorFlow is really a popular offering from the people at Google. It's a framework, it's a library, it does a lot of different things. If you're a person who's very much interested to understand how to work with machine learning in detail, how to work with deep learning, how to work with neural networks, you might definitely need to learn TensorFlow. And of course, we will be working on a lot of TensorFlow concepts down the line too. And the last tool we have is Tableau as well. If you take a look at it, SQL talks about data ingestion, Python and R programming language talks about processing, analysis and all of that. TensorFlow and Tableau, these are pretty critical for the world through which you can not only analyze but also explain what it is that you have analyzed. The step of data visualization, the step of business intelligence that we discussed, as you can see, is pretty critical. But then every time we discuss the top tools, I'll always have this question: Anirudh, should we learn Python or should we learn R? Now, as a data scientist myself, I can agree with this number to say that over 85% of us strongly recommend that you get started off with Python, because It is an overall big picture. When you take a look at it, it makes the entire domain look so simple. And just like me, if you have a couple of years of experience, afterwards when you look back, you will realize the beauty of Python, you'll realize the magic of Python then. And I'm sure that you guys already know at this moment of time that it's very easy to learn. And the advantage in Python, the biggest advantage for beginners, is that you can write a small amount of code to have a large amount of impact. That is very, very rare in the case of a programming language. Python does that beautifully. And of course, with that, I have one more recommendation for all of you all. I would recommend you guys subscribe to the channel to get started with these complex concepts of Python, data science, and a lot more. And as always, I will be simplifying it down to the most simple terms. So guys, thank you so much for joining this episode of Learn with Anirudh. There's a lot more content that is coming your way. And I highly appreciate all your support, all your feedback, and keep it coming. Let's make sure that we create a very nice space for all of you guys out there who are really interested and who are really passionate to learn all of these domains. So thank you so much for your time. I'll see you on the next one.